The story of Celeste Rivas does not feel like just another tragic headline anymore. It is unfolding like a nightmare that no one can wake up from, a sinister labyrinth of hidden messages, resurfaced footage, and timelines that feel too deliberate to be coincidences. What started as a shocking discovery, a young girl's body in the trunk of David's car, has spiraled into something far darker, far more orchestrated than anyone imagined. And now, the internet is on fire. Investigators, fans, even high-profile commentators like Joe Rogan are stepping into the chaos, questioning how deep this rabbit hole goes. Every new clue feels like a dagger to the public's sense of safety, making it impossible to look away. People are not just curious anymore, they are horrified, outraged, and obsessed, connecting dots that paint a picture no one wants to believe. When David's lyrics first hit streaming platforms, they felt like edgy heartbreak anthems. But now, replayed through the lens of Celeste's death, they sound like confessions hiding in plain sight. There is one track that has become the internet's obsession. Fans have looped it over and over, isolating the chilling lines. I know what the problem is. Save your tears. 7 years. I know life is complicated. You do not have to say no more. Do not know if I am going to make it. We both have to find a way to work it out. My head is aching. You are the one that started this. At release, it felt harmless. Today, it feels like a countdown. Celeste, people have discovered, was exactly 7 years away from turning legal at that time. That lyric, 7 years, no longer reads like random poetry. It reads like a warning. It reads like a plan. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. And it is not the only track raising alarms. The song Romantic Homicide, dropped on September 7, 2022, is being re-examined with dread. Guess whose birthday is September 7th? Celeste. He released a song about killing someone in the back of his mind on her 12th birthday. Back then, listeners called it edgy. Now, they are calling it a confession disguised as a love song. Twitter threads, TikTok breakdowns, and Reddit deep dives are exploding with screenshots and timelines. One viral post reads, "He literally told us everything and we ignored it. How did nobody connect the dots until now?" Another writes, "This is not art anymore. This is evidence." The public feels betrayed, by the artist, by the industry, by themselves for not seeing it sooner. But the darkness does not stop there. Another lyric, "I do not care how long it takes as long as I am with you," is now interpreted as him waiting for Celeste to come of age before going public with their relationship. Fans are posting side-by-side comparisons of lyrics and timelines. The narrative forming online is chilling. This was not spontaneous, this was premeditated. And then, like gasoline on an already raging fire, photographs surfaced. Grainy but unmistakable, Celeste allegedly at one of David's concerts, looking up at him as he waves. If authentic, this image obliterates any claim that he did not know her. She was not a stranger. She was in his world, part of his orbit, a hidden thread woven into his public life. And just when the internet thought it could not get darker, a podcast clip resurfaced. Footage of David with Celeste, laughing, talking about topics so inappropriate people are calling it, straight from the Epstein playbook. Subjects a grown man has no business discussing with a minor. Back then, fans shrugged it off, calling it artist persona, a dark alter ego that allowed him to express taboo thoughts. But now, people are calling it what it may truly be, a mask, a facade, a carefully constructed cover to normalize the unthinkable. One fan tweeted, "He literally said an evil version of me," and in Japanese that phrase translates to pain. This was not random. This was a confession in code. What is surfacing now feels less like gossip and more like a horror story written in real time. Betrayal at every level, an artist betraying his fans, a system betraying its duty to protect, and a public betrayed by its own blind trust. People are not just angry, they are terrified, realizing that the very platforms they use to idolize celebrities may have been hiding predators in plain sight. The Celeste Rivas case is no longer about a single victim or a single artist. It is about how far someone can go while everyone watches and mistakes the darkness for art. He should be arrested for this sentence alone. That was the phrase echoing across Twitter and TikTok, a digital chant of outrage and disbelief. "My condolences to the girl's family," people wrote, as screenshots of the case spread like wildfire. But then it escalated. Joe Rogan himself weighed in, and suddenly this was no longer a niche scandal or a dark corner of the internet. Joe called the case heartbreaking, labeling it sad on air, but he did not stop there. He did what Joe Rogan does, he zoomed in on the lyrics, the dates, the tiny details hidden in plain sight, and then he dropped a line so heavy it ripped through comment sections. "The kids of today do not learn," he said, pointing to Celeste's pattern of behavior, reports that she would vanish from home, run off without telling family or friends, flirt with danger like it was a game. He wasn't blaming her, he stressed, but he was exposing the culture around her, a reckless digital age where kids move like shadows, unprotected, chasing danger while predators wait in the wings. The comment cut deep because it wasn't just about Celeste. It was about a generation. It tore open a wound bigger than this single tragedy. And this is where the story shifts from a single headline to something that feels like a nightmare script. Celeste was not just a missing girl. She was not just another name on a case file. She was living on the edge, a child caught in the gravitational pull of someone older, richer, and darker. Her life had become entangled, almost scripted, by the eerie shadow of David's music, his Discord activity, and the obsessive community orbiting around him. This was not a disappearance. This was a slow descent into a narrative where art, obsession, and reality bled together until no one could tell where the performance ended and the predator began. On Reddit, one viral post reads, "This is not a case. This is a timeline. This is a countdown." Once you lay it out piece by piece, the coincidences evaporate. What emerges is a sequence of markers, foreshadowing, breadcrumbs, omens, leading to one terrifying conclusion. March 2022 is where the stomach begins to turn. David drops a line with the "Save Your Tears" lyric, a haunting fragment that felt like standard dark poetry at the time. But in hindsight, the words feel like a knife under the skin. He mentions 7 years, a phrase that seemed random when the track first came out but becomes horrifying when mapped onto Celeste's age. She was only 11. The lyric was not floating in a void. It was sitting like a landmine, waiting to be stepped on. Fans brushed it off as dramatic writing, but for those who revisited it later, the foreshadowing felt surgical, like someone leaving clues for a story already written. Once connected, the dots spell out something you can't unsee. The lyric reads like an omen. It's no longer music. It's evidence. By May 2022, the pattern sharpens like a blade. David tweets something cryptic about a girl who wants to be taken where I belong. The wording sounds vague, artsy, easily dismissed as a metaphor. But hidden inside is a disturbing alignment. He mentions the age of 11. That number doesn't just hover, it locks perfectly with Celeste's reality. Was it coincidence? Maybe. But in the world of obsession, coincidences rarely feel accidental. It's as if he was speaking in riddles meant to be decoded only after the tragedy unfolded. To outsiders, it was a throwaway post. To those piecing it together later, it's a puzzle piece falling into place with a sickening click. Then comes July 2022, and the bottom drops out. On Celeste's actual birthday, he releases Romantic Homicide. Imagine that title landing on the exact day a young girl turns 12. The weight of it is unbearable. At the time, fans didn't know her. They didn't know the overlap. But imagine being Celeste, or someone close to her, watching that release, realizing the date, wondering if the song was a gift, a threat, or something far darker. The lyrics paired with her birthday make your skin crawl once you line up the dates. This was not music released into the void. This was someone weaving a child's timeline into their art. The comments sections today are full of horror. One viral TikTok says, "He wasn't writing songs. He was writing prophecies." And then October 2022 hits like a hammer. A leaked Discord chat surfaces, showing David asking if Celeste was online. He wasn't vaguely aware of her. He was actively checking for her. She appears right after. That moment alone detonates the defense of ignorance. This was not theoretical. This was interaction, real, lived, immediate. What was a famous musician doing in a space where he could casually ask about a specific young girl? Why was her presence on his radar at all? The line between fan and idol collapses, leaving something personal, predatory, and sickeningly deliberate. For anyone piecing it together afterward, that moment feels like the ground giving way. This isn't speculation anymore. This is contact. This is connection. This is the mask slipping. Fast forward to December 2023, and the mask finally slips. The obsession can no longer hide behind plausible deniability. David records a song literally titled Celeste. No metaphors, no coded references, just her name carved into permanence like an artist signing a crime scene. And then, as if on cue, photos of the two of them start surfacing online. For months, maybe years, people whispered about their connection, debating whether it was real or just dark fandom gossip. Now there it was, raw visual proof, two faces side by side, branded together. With the song's release, the entire narrative snapped into horrifying focus. It was no longer coincidences. It was direct acknowledgement. He wanted her immortalized, and he got exactly that. Twitter threads ignited, TikTok sleuths cut their footage frame by frame. One viral comment read, "He wasn't hiding her. He was archiving her." By March 2024, the whispers had grown too loud to ignore. Screenshots from Discord spill into the open. In black and white chat logs, fans type the unspeakable outright, "David is dating a girl named Celeste." No euphemisms. No jokes. Just the naked truth, hiding in plain sight. In the echo chamber of fandom, it may have felt like gossip at first, the kind of reckless rumor that spreads in chat rooms. But looking back, it was a revelation disguised as hearsay. People knew. People saw it happening. And the most frightening part? It did not stop. Exposure did not slow it down. Instead, the darkness deepened. April 2024 arrives like the drop in a horror film, and the tragedy blooms. Celeste disappears from her family's life. Gone. Just like that. 1 month after fan conversations openly name the relationship, she vanishes into silence. For her family, it must have felt like a nightmare clawing its way into daylight. For those who had pieced together the clues online, dread hardened into horror. Every breadcrumb, every lyric, every cryptic tweet that had seemed like harmless mystery before now looked like a roadmap to destruction. The timing was not subtle. It was screaming. She disappeared just as the narrative around her was bursting into the open. Reddit posts at the time read like prophecies, "She's next. Watch." By August 2024, her disappearance is no longer a shadow. It is being named. Discord users start requesting a song about the missing girl, explicitly naming her, Celeste Rivas. The fandom itself acknowledges the truth, weaving her absence into the lore of the music. Here the blurred boundary between art and life dissolves completely. She is no longer a muse. She is a missing person. A name in a real-world tragedy. And yet even then, people treat it like content. They wanted a song, a token, as though her disappearance was just another piece of material for an artist to exploit. TikTok stitches show fans crying on camera while others theorize about track lists, likes and emojis scrolling beneath their tears. The exploitation is almost unbearable to witness, her absence turned into art before her family even had answers. September 2024 brings the kind of detail that makes your blood run cold. Celeste turns 14. Her birthday does not pass in silence, it resurfaces with something that feels like branding. A photo emerges showing her with a tattoo on her finger, the exact same as David's, the letters SH. Matching tattoos at 14. That single detail stops people in their tracks. What kind of bond leads to permanent marks like that? How was she being guided, or pressured, into etching her body with his symbol? It was more than connection. It was ownership, a sign that she had been pulled too deep into something far bigger and far darker than herself. To those piecing it together, the photo is both proof and confession. One user writes, "This is not fandom. This is grooming in plain sight." When you pull back and replay the entire timeline, it no longer feels random. It no longer feels like scattered coincidences. It reads like a carefully constructed web, each strand pulled tighter as time moved forward. From the cryptic lyric in March 2022 to the matching tattoo in September 2024, every moment builds a chilling sequence. Celeste wasn't just an ordinary fan swept up in the glamour of music. She became a centerpiece in a story that blurred reality with performance, art with exploitation, until the line vanished entirely. And through it all, the unsettling feeling grows heavier. None of this was hidden. The songs were streaming. The tweets were live. The Discord chats were leaked. The photos were public. People saw it. But still, no one stopped it. What makes this timeline so bone-chilling isn't only the tragedy itself, it's the way it plays out like a script, a performance that looks almost staged in retrospect. David's lyrics, his posts, his songs, his interactions, every one of them slots into the timeline like puzzle pieces designed to lead to one single ending. And when you finally piece it together, the horror isn't only in what happened to Celeste. The horror is in realizing that the story was unfolding in plain sight, with fans watching, breadcrumbs laid out, everything pointing toward an ending that now feels inevitable. Celeste wasn't just lost. She was trapped inside a narrative that someone else was writing for her. That's what makes the story cut so deep. Then September 2025 arrives, and the unthinkable becomes reality. Celeste should have been turning 15. Instead, her body is pulled from the trunk of his abandoned Tesla. The scene looks like something even Hollywood would reject as too dark, cordon tape fluttering in the dry Los Angeles breeze, detectives shielding their eyes from the sun as they whisper over notepads, crime scene cameras clicking like locusts. For people online, it doesn't read like a breaking story. It feels like the final click of puzzle pieces falling into place, a creeping dread confirming what had been whispered about for months. And yet, as horrific as that moment is, there is a deeper, darker question forming. If the entire timeline was visible, how did no one stop it before it reached this point? And then the detail that made everything stranger, the Tesla had been sitting abandoned for nearly 48 hours before police arrived. 2 full days. 2 days of exposure, of evidence degrading, of potential witnesses vanishing. Was it arrogance? Sloppiness? Or a message? Bloggers dissected every pixel of the crime scene photos. True crime podcasters uploaded ominous trailers with piano chords and grainy trunk close-ups. Hashtags fused shock with obsession, tragedy with spectacle, transforming the horror into a digital sport. His inner circle scattered like rats from a sinking ship. Collaborators unfollowed overnight. PR teams that once replied in seconds now gave only no comment. His family's accounts went private, bios scrubbed clean. TMZ drones buzzed overhead like hornets, paparazzi staked out courthouses hoping for a shot of him in cuffs. Rumors ignited, private jets, sealed indictments, hush money. Nothing confirmed, but everything possible. Lake Elsinore remained still. That small-town stillness that lingers after the cameras leave, but this one was stained, bruised. Shops taped her photo to cash registers. Neighbors wore ribbons on jackets. Students painted her name across bleachers in the high school gym. And whenever a microphone found them, they said the same words: she was more than a headline. They wanted the country to know she had plans, she had a laugh that lit up rooms, she had a future. And they wanted someone, anyone, to pay. Investigators stayed tight-lipped. Ongoing investigation. Respect the process. But leaks slipped through cracks. Financial transfers. Surveillance footage from a Beverly Hills hotel. A storage unit in Van Nuys. Anonymous whispers of recordings where Celeste's name is spoken in tones no stranger would use. And yet, still, no arrest. No perp walk. Just silence. The kind of silence that sounds less like absence and more like control. The public's grief is hardening into fury. Viral TikToks scream, if this were anyone else, they'd be locked up already. Protests are brewing, petitions, marches, hashtags boiling into action. And through it all, one question gets louder every day: what is he hiding? Some whisper that he's cooperating with authorities to expose a larger network. Others say he's too rich, too protected, untouchable. Every theory adds another layer of gasoline to the firestorm. And David? His silence is deafening. No posts, no apologies, no lawyers reading cold statements on courthouse steps. Just absence. A few grainy photos surface, him at a gas station, hood pulled up, face hidden. Some claim rehab. Others say he fled. Nobody knows. But one